Hello and welcome back to the lab. Today on the bench we have a very large but somewhat odd bit of kit from HP. This is a 4140B. This is a picoamp meter and DC voltage source. Essentially what this thing is this is a medium-ish voltage source. Each one of these can output 100 volts. We do have some patterning that can be done. I'll zoom in on that. Here, one of the things this unit was used for could be for transistor testing, some of the more esoteric parameters of silicon leakage testing, things like that. Probably some material science as well, testing insulation resistances, things like that. Reason for it is we have about 100 volts on the supply, but we have a picoamp meter here. So we're getting down into the weeds. As we can see, we have a 19 milliamp input max. So definitely not a high current device. However, it is a high precision device. I do not know if this one works, and I haven't been able to test it. Unfortunately, if we zoom in on this connector right there, this looks like BNC-ish. This is actually because of the high impedance of this input, which I'll check the spec sheet here in a minute for exactly how high impedance it is. I believe it's in the tera ohms. I'm not 100% sure, so we have to work incredibly clean on it. This is a triaxial BNC. We can tell by the shield that's in there and the 3 lugs on the connector. Now, if you see one of these connectors, there's actually 2 flavors of TRIAX. There's this style, which is the 3 lug. The other one's down here, so they got a lug here, and a lug there. The other one is a dual lug TRIAX, same interconnector, but 2. Now, the reason we went away from dual lug TRIAX is because a BNC will almost fit. It will not. The interconductor of the pin is a different size. Here's actually the adapter that I had to order. If the camera will focus, we can see how many connectors are in there. We have the 3 lugs. We have the interconductor, the middle conductor out, and then the shields. So essentially it's, if I remember the documentation correctly, it's positive, negative, and then guard is on the outer connector. Now, this is an adapter to go from TRIAX to BNC, so I can at least test the unit. Now, what that's going to do is with this adapter, it's going to short the interconductor to the shield. So, in this case, that's okay. In other cases, it may not be. So, we now have a BNC input that we can use, which is cool. Now, this is an absolutely giant box to do one of the things that I plan on doing with it, but this is going to be very, very good given the extremely low current capabilities of this particular unit, as well as the moderately high voltages. This will be great for testing capacitor leakage. So, if I put the voltage into the one side of the capacitor and measure the current coming out the other side, that'll tell me exactly what the leakage is of the capacitor. I was using the source measure unit for this, much smaller unit, and ish more capable because my SMU will go up to 200 volts. This will only do 100, but this actually is a little bit better at the current measurement than the source measure than the SMU is, specifically because of the triaxial connection here. So one of the reasons why I'm kind of excited to get this thing up on the bench. This will get a lot more useful once I get GPIB set up and running on the bench. I currently don't have GPIB. All the equipment's manual. It's one of the things that's going to be coming next. Or phase 2 of the lab is figuring out GPIB, getting it up and running, and getting some things going on that side. Especially with some of the ramps and things like that, having the GPIB control on this unit it's much more friendly to set up than the front panel. But this will be able to do some pretty cool measurements. Everything this can do, I can do on the 2450. However, this has a little bit better front end for measuring those ultra low currents with TRIAX. All right, let's see what it looks like inside. Popping the covers off. It is amazingly clean, which is actually really important for this unit because of anything dirt-wise is going to be leakage on this. Lots of shielding, which I would expect. There's actually shielding between each board. Nice big shielded power transformer. Our input is completely shielded, hiding back here. Here's our input shielding, hiding way down there. And then these blue lines right here are the A and B supplies coming out. The reason for 2 supplies is part of the silicon testing. One supply drives the gate, the other, well, we'll say transistor. Emitter would go to the amp meter, collector would go to the supply, the second supply would drive the base, and then you could characterize the silicon device. Doing characterization like that would be much easier with GPIB fully implemented and being able to talk to this thing with a computer. Manual measurements of that would be tedious and cumbersome at best. Well, I wasn't sure if I was going to plug it in before I got the soldering iron out. However, that is a refa capacitor. Replace if found always. So got to get that out, swapped out with a different safety cap, and then we'll give it some power and see what happens. Okay, should be a pretty straightforward swap out. No bangs after replacing one part, I hope. Give it a power on. That looks very healthy, and the amp meter does look like it's moving. So that's highly... Just moving my finger in front of the amp meter probe got it to, yeah, it switched ranges. Got it to work. So one of the things that I've, in some research, come across happens to these things is this amp meter gets blown up. And if that amp meter gets blown up, the device is kind of dead in the water. Let's see what happens if I hook a BNC up to this and I ask it for, and I ask the source measure unit to put in some microamps. That should be well within the readable range of this, and that'll let us test that amp meter, make sure everything's working. I don't want to hook a power supply up to this at all because of the fragility of that input, which is why we're going to trust the SMU for this one. All right, because it's current, it should short out the power supply on the SMU. We're going to ask for, we'll give it 5, we will source 550 millivolts. And we will have a current limit of 10 microamp. And 1 microamp. So it's actually working. So I don't even need to check it. Now, the weird thing is on the SMU, it sometimes always puts out a little bit of current. It's like a tenth of the assigned range. So 1 microamp putting out a tenth of the asked for current of 10 microamps. This is actually good. This is exactly what we're expecting. So let's hit 10 microamps. 10 microamps. So this amp meter is just fine. Everything looks absolutely fantastic. The source measure unit putting out that small amount of current is actually normal and is to be expected. It's functioning as designed. Okay, I think I've set up the front panel to give me a step sweep up from 1 to 50 volts. So let's hit start sweep, starting at 1 volt, and there we go. 2, 3. Let's check out the meter. Okay, so we have a fantastic ramp and then a drop off. So that worked exactly as one would expect. So that supply looks good. We'll kick it to DC here in a second. Reposition the camera so you guys can see what I'm doing on here. We have it set in current mode, and we will kick this down to DC. We'll ask it for 100 volts, and we'll hit go. 9.93, and the meter's not calibrated, or the meter's not warmed up, so that's totally fine there. Let's check supply 2. All the way up. Hit it. 99.93, same thing. So our supplies are healthy. So that's great. Let's see if we can get it to measure its own reefa cap by itself. Okay, we have a very awful test fixture here, and checking this reefa capacitor. This is good up to 250 volts, so we'll give it 50 volts. We'll give it DC. We'll give it 50 volts, and we'll current limit this out at 10 to the negative fourth. So we have the power supply set to the lowest current limit. 10 to the negative fourth, that would be 100 nanoamps is what the power supply is limited to. But we're on supply A, so I need to move this over. And supply B is shut off. We're in current mode. We'll hit go. 5, 10 to the negative fifth. So that cap is leaking with an exponent of 10 to the negative 5 nanoamp, if I'm reading that correctly. Negative 6 would be 1 nanoamp. No, negative 6 would be one microamp. So we're leaking 5 microamps through that capacitor. So for what that was, not the greatest. And it actually looks like we might be hitting current limit mode. So that is a bad capacitor. Good thing that's out of there. This turning into a smoke machine and getting contamination on those boards would have been a nightmare to clean off. Thanks for stopping by the lab and taking a look at this 4140B picoamp meter and DC voltage source. This one was sent to me broken, but seems to be working just fine. So it's ready for the bench and to do some measurements. I need to sit down and spend some time with the manual for this thing. I'm missing some test fixturing. Now that we know that this works, this is going to get some test fixtures to protect the current source from oopses here in the lab. We're going to take a 50 ohm termination resistor, and we're just going to shield the picoamp meter like that. This is just essentially for static discharge protection, just to make sure nothing gets zapped on the front end of the amp meter. I haven't seen the system schematics yet, so I don't know if there's any protection in here. I'd imagine not at that low a current measurement. Typically, the closer you get to the rails, the more exposed FETs and things like that get, and the less of a safety net you're working with. This is also true on the high-speed gear. 2 examples of that would be my 2 spectrum analyzers here in the lab. My E44B goes to 1.5 gigahertz. It can handle 100 volts DC on the front end of the spec amp. My HP 8596, that goes to 12.8. It cannot handle any DC on the front end. Typically, the more sensitive the measurement, the less safety net we're working with in terms of the damaging to the equipment. Also true is the faster the measurement. Just something to keep aware of to keep from damaging equipment. As some of the extreme speed equipment, 26 gigahertz plugins, things like that, they also get voltage limited too, where they can only handle like 1.5, 3 volts on the input. So know the limitations of the test gear and know what you're hooking it up to so you don't fry an input. Typically, the faster the inputs are, the more sensitive the inputs are, the more expensive they are when something goes sideways. So now that we know the unit's working, if you have any recommendations on test fixturing that I should have up here, these screws are for test fixtures for something to bolt into the front end of this. Let me know in the comments below. My immediate need for this is going to be testing capacitor leakage, but spending some time with the service manual, I'm probably going to get some more ideas on how I can deploy this in the lab to do some more sensitive measurements. For example, extremely high-end, high-value resistors, this would be great to help measure. I have 100 volts on the front end, but then the picoamp meter can really let me dial in, with an appropriate application of Ohm's law, some really high-end resistors that some of the other gear in the lab, even the fancy gear, will struggle to measure. That's actually how the source measure unit, the SMU, does some of the ridiculously high-end resistors up into the tera ohms, is applying a current and then seeing what comes, or applying a known voltage and seeing what current comes back through. At some of this stuff, when you're measuring multi-gig ohm resistors, pushing into the tera ohms of resistors, these are very niche applications where these things are even used. Cleanliness is above everything else. I mean, fingerprints are conductive at that level. The ammeter's counting electrons. Like 100 volts through a 10 tera ohm resistor is not a lot of current at all. 10 tera ohms is actually, might as well be insulation at that point. It's not even a resistor anymore. It's trying to be an insulator. So just some things to think about while we're moving forward. So if you're liking what you're seeing and everything, let me know. Leave a comment. Give me a like and a subscribe, and hang around. If you'd like some additional content, check out the Patreon page. Patrons help keep the lights on here in the lab and videos coming up to YouTube. And as always, their help is greatly appreciated. They're also running ahead on videos on YouTube. As of the recording of this video, nothing's behind the paywall, but Patreons are running ahead on YouTube. I do read all the comments in between videos. And as always, I'll see everybody in the comment section. More is on the way.